Welcome, one and all. Thank you for joining me on this very, very quick short stream. I just wanted to say a big thank you for watching this, if you have, or even if it's after the fact. I'm just here to basically try some new tools, figure out a good way to communicate with you. You may have seen some of my videos earlier on in the week where I'm giving thanks and gratitude to some of the companies I've worked with and who shaped me into who I am and the expert that you see before you. But this is a new format, and I want to try and make this bi-conversational and see if I can answer some of your questions. And so I wanted to get going with this test to see how it might work. So we won't be hanging around a lot, but I want to try and see if I can do these on a regular and answer some questions. Now, what kind of questions are good for this space? Well, to start with, we can have a debate and conversation around what might be happening in the job market and some of the struggles around that. We're happy to have some advice and bring people on to talk around best practices around CV formation, interviewing, and how to identify a job in different ways. The other thing is, obviously, in my expertise and what I do very well is around things like apps, SaaS, AI, building different digital platforms and working with some of the biggest brands on the planet to deliver solutions that solve complex problems. And by doing so, I would open the floor to you to ask some questions and what you might want to know a bit more about and how we might go about having a conversation around that. But in the meantime, I want to revert back to my format that was before, which was giving thanks to some of the companies that I've worked with. And I'd actually like to reverse it. Rather than going from some of my historical, I would like to talk to one of the companies that I worked with recently. So Publicis Media was a company I worked recently to work on their internal platform called PX. It's an AI generative platform, and it also does management around campaigns, whether that be through social media or TV or print or however. So Publicis work with some of the biggest clients you've heard of. So pretty much everybody that you know probably uses them to some degree to help with their campaigns, both in local markets and global markets. And to have that exposure to better understand how they work, how they process those campaigns, the different people involved, the complexity, the way they have to manage and cost those campaigns through a variety of mechanisms was something that was a great eye-opener and a great opportunity to be part of, and how they're looking to bring in AI and generative AI into the space is really, really interesting. I can't speak too much because obviously there's some private IP stuff there that is specific to that company, but needless to say, they are being very innovative. They have great partnerships with Adobe and OpenAI to work with the leading tools. And the people I worked with were warm, friendly, and really enthusiastic about what they do. And that really gave me a great experience into understanding. And lastly, even as I was finishing that role, the person that came in after me and who was going to take over the core part I was managing was a great advocate of both my work and the role and the need that the business has. And I want to say a great thank you and appreciation for that exposure, that ability to be part of your business, and for you to be able to take on such a wonderful candidate that superseded me. And I hope she fulfills every need with the business, because I'm sure she's more than capable and will really push the needle forward for that. So that's the thanks to Publicis Media for my recent stint. Obviously, I've worked with many other companies, and some of those have been fascinatingly interesting. But I want to take another detour into something else that you've probably seen me posting, or my company posting, Emotive. And if you want to know more about what we do, please head over to emotivetouch.com and you'll be able to see everything we do there. But we basically build everything around digital solutions, and we work on the fractional expert side of things. Now, what is a fractional expert? Some of you may know already, some of you don't. But it basically, you've heard of the fractional economy, and this has now been applied to the expertise space around consultancy, management, and delivery of kind of technical work that would normally cost businesses a lot of money to bring those expertise into their business. And before we think, well, I don't need that. Every business needs advice from an external source to some degree, whether that's to improve the business that you're already doing, to better understand your competition, whether it's to understand what's coming up in the market. You cannot help, and it's natural behavior to become a little bit insular within inside your own walls and within inside your own domain. And that's where these expertise that come from an external source come in, really support that and give you that kind of idea and view in. So fractional expertise help with that, but at, as you might guess it, a fraction of the cost. So imagine getting hold of a strategist to help you kind of plan out your next year's worth of tech deliveries, your campaigns, your reduction in costs, if that's what you need to do. One of the big ones at the moment is a lot of people realizing the costs around AWS and the fees that are starting to come into that space, and have now aggressively moved into putting strategies into place to offload a certain amount of data and functions from AWS and bring them back local, so that there's a more hybrid approach, having huge cost savings. I can't remember which company it was recently, but I heard that they were literally saving millions of pounds by doing that. So the bigger the company, the bigger the save that's going to be there. So again, a fractional expert will be somebody that you can bring in to help you with that strategy, even if your own internal team are the ones that are doing the delivery. Having that insight about what can come off, what can stay on is a big help. Same thing in the product and the design space. Having somebody there that can really support you around not just the design systems and the design processes that you already have in place, but that kind of human psychology, behavioral psychology that you get from something like a UX expert around how to create your software, your platforms, your digital solutions that really maximize the KPI objectives. Now, a lot of people will say, hey, I've got a KPI to sell more or have better retention or what have you. Of course, almost every business does. But how do you achieve that without truly understanding both your customer base and the behavioral patterns within that? And if you're relying on things like Google Analytics, that will give you a snapshot into the statistical behavior of a customer, but it won't give you the insights that you need around behavior. And so there are a suite of other tools that do that, but data itself is not the be and end all. You then need to translate that data into action. So this is where a UX expert can come in and reformat your journeys, push things like call to actions above the fold. Now, these things might sound like very standard paradigms that I'm talking about, but it's not just a case of putting the button above the fold. It's also then the onward journey into an application form. When's the right time? Have you done the correct value exchange with the customer around giving them enough before they're willing to give you their personal details? If you've messed that balance up, you're going to have a very high, large bounce rate, or people won't. If you don't give the right information at the right time, people won't even click on those application buttons because they don't have enough information, or the assumption that they will scroll through your page and read every word to understand what your product or project offering is just wrong. More often than not, people will take it at a glance, and if they don't start to get any anchors into the information they need, they will just leave, again causing high bounce rates. And all of this can be very, very damaging to not just your conversions and your bottom line, but in terms of how the site is perceived and ranked within the Google rankings as well. So I would suggest that you should be looking at an expert to help with that kind of thing as well. Copywriting and UX copywriting is also a big space that's worth looking into, making sure you get the right tone of voice, making sure the brand voice is on. And as we move more and more into content delivered information, it is more and more important to have that side of your information correct, written well, and actually provides valuable information and clear structure, so that every article or every piece of information is consistent, feels like it's part of your brand, feels like a value exchange, and then creates conversion as you wish. Obviously, with the AI space, I think we're falling into two camps. There's the heavy AI users right now, who are the trend leaders, which tend to be the smaller businesses. And we have the larger companies who, of course, are looking at AI, and they may have more complex AI platforms in the background. But generally speaking, they're not playing around with the chat GTPs in their main work streams because, to be fair, the data isn't secure, and it doesn't necessarily fill the needs they need. So it's about how we bring that in. And one of the biggest stumbling blocks around that is making sure that your data is clean and clear, and that you're able to basically clean up in a way that any AI platform, whichever one you want to work with, whether it's OpenAI's offerings or whether it's Gemini's or something else like Claude, you need to make sure your data is clean so that AI can receive it, pass it, and actually give you sensible responses. If there's a lot of conflict within the context of that text and data, that's not going to help. If it's formatted all differently, that's not going to help. And yes, AI is magical, but it should not be passed complete decoherent information, because unfortunately the information that comes out the other end will be also decoherent for you to be able to then use. So from that perspective, I would recommend getting a fractional expert or a full-time expert in to look at that. Now, going back to what the financials of the fractional experts. Now, you basically can do it in one of two different ways. You can do it through a dip in, dip out kind of process, or you can do it on a retainer basis, and then you can access them as and when you need. In both cases, it's a fraction of the cost of what it would be to hire somebody or to get an agency expert to come in. Hiring somebody for a top expert is somewhere starting in the range of 90 to 150,000 per year. Yes, you might get a few people in the current market for less, but generally speaking, they're more expensive because they have multiple years of experience, and they're usually top of the game and one of the best you need. And they're not just anybody; they're somebody who's been there and done it. So that tends to be expensive from a salary. Plus, you've got all the benefits and everything else that comes around it. And then if you do ever choose to offload them from your business, there may be potential extra cost there. So hiring an expert full time is expensive. Hiring them through an agency tends to be anywhere between 1,000 on the minimum end to anywhere to 2,400 at the higher end and more, because you're paying for that business to collate and find the expertise and put it through and just kind of deal with all the admin around that. So again, really expensive. You're then paying over the course of a year nearly £400,000 to £600,000 for that expertise to come in. Now, I appreciate you wouldn't have them across the course of the year, but that just shows you across a period of time of how expensive that could potentially be. If we then kind of look forward into, okay, well, I want to find a consultancy directly, it will definitely be cheaper. But even if you're trying to do that and you use a recruitment agency to find the personnel directly as a contractor, you're still looking at minimum of £500 to £600 a day. Again, looking at about £10,000 a month plus. So that would be cheaper, but again, it can be very expensive over the course. So fractional experts are half of that cost predominantly, because you're not using them all the time. You use them as and when you need them. They come in and set up a strategy. They work with your team. They're hands off. Then they come back in and they help with guidance and see how well you've executed that plan and kind of help you nudge it back into line if that needs be. And it's not costing you anymore. It tends to be flat rated, so it's predictable, it's easy, you can write it off in your CapEx, and overall is a better way to go. So if you need a fractional expert and it's somebody that you want to tap into and you actually see the benefit and you've used expertise and consultancy in the past, but just want to pay a little bit less, then head over to Motive. We'll try and connect you with some fantastic expertise who really know their stuff and can help you in whatever industry you might be into to move the needle, and whether that be to reduce costs, create more growth, better retention, more ROI or margins within your thing. An expert can help you with across all of those. So that was probably the end of this quick and short live stream. I just wanted to kind of test this out and see how it worked. I can see nobody's watching, but hopefully you watch this as a pre-record. And I plan to do these once every day, maybe twice a week, depending on my schedule and what allows. And it's meant to be an open conversation. So as and when you see these, please jump on board. Happy to answer questions. Happy to kind of field some ideas. If you're somebody looking in the job market and wondering what's going on, I'm happy to explore that with you and try and give you some insights to what might be happening. And I can tell you now, it's not you. There's a lot happening that's causing a perfect amalgamation and mess right now that's causing large employment difficulty in the recruitment market, and therefore what was typical even a couple of years ago is much harder now. So be patient, do what you can in your downtime. If you're an artist or a UX UI designer, improve your portfolios. That is essential. If you're a copywriter, write some stuff so you've got stuff to work with. It is the time to use your downtime to improve your skills, broaden your knowledge, showcase your work under your terms and your creativity. And then when you move into these interview stages, you have something to point to and say, hey, I've been out of work for 2-3 months, but this is what I've been doing, and it will really help you in good stead. If you'd like to kind of do one-to-one coaching or anything along those lines, this is something I can offer as well, and or partner you with an expert, again, who might be able to kind of help you with your CV or help you do some role play so that you can get really fine-tuned for your next interview. But either way, I wish you luck, and I hope you've enjoyed these streams, and thanks for now. Bye.